I just think, maybe there are a lot of people start with the intention of, basically the criteria is like, I have a stressful life, I want to get into meditation because I want to find something which will bring peace, pleasure, and the minute that there's this existential anxiety that comes to the surface that I've been running away from, whenever this then there's something wrong, then I'm not doing it right, then I need to double down.
See, and like, as I say that often, especially when I'm criticizing techniques and Goenka and Vipassana and modern time, in itself, it's not a problem if you know why you're doing it. So if you generally need to calm down from a stressful life, whatever, do your yoga, relax, stretch, meditate, watch your breath. But don't confuse that to be the Dhamma, because it's not. That's the thing. But many people would many people arrive at this, like, I need to be free from stress, but I don't really want to, significantly impact or give up my life. That's fine, but be clear about it. But what they arrive then is like, fine, you don't have to give it up, and you don't have to do any of this. And yes, you are practicing, see what these suttas are teaching. And then they develop this view that, so nothing has to change for me, and I can be an arahant. And because of that, they will never understand what real Dhamma is. Because again, they already conflated it, and by thinking that, that it is something that it isn't, you will stop trying to find out what it actually is, because you think you found it. So that's always the issue with all the methods and techniques. It's just, they never amount to, practically speaking, to more than just calming, relaxation, de-stressing yourself, and so on. But that's nowhere near. The peace that the Buddha teaches about, the peace of it's like peace of being unable to suffer amid suffering. Don't matter whether you watch your nostrils or not, whether you are being chopped limb by limb by highway robbers or not. You're unable to suffer because your mind's free from craving.
Because you overcome it, because your mind has
Uprooted
become so
it.
strong it's unable to be affected by it.
And when the Buddha talks about meditation, he talks about purifying mind from the unwholesome states. He does not talk about calming. Calmness comes on account of being unable to be disturbed, not on account of calm on top of the disturbance, or calm so that I can get disturbed.
You have to face the disturbance. You have to let it endure, to then on account of it become strong.
Yes, and now a person actually can remain clear about that choice. Okay, I started this thing because I wanted to be free from stress, but actually, no, I think I want to give everything up and be fully, completely beyond the possibility of suffering. And now I can actually, and they would commit to it rightly. They would stop doing their stress release techniques, and they actually would start taking the teaching seriously without conflating the two. Because people take the teaching seriously by doing the stress relief techniques.
And then they just no longer are able to see the possibility.
Because they think that, and that's like the bone to pick, the issue there. So as long as things are not conflated, make your own choices, do what you like. And then you realize the most you can do is at least just clarify the choice for people. Whether they like it or not doesn't matter. At least on some level they recognize that there might be a choice. As opposed to, this is it. We all teach the same, just do that.
That keeps the authenticity, the possibility of authenticity alive.
Exactly.
At least, I'm not doing it now, but I know
it's on life support, but at least it's still plugged in.
And like you were saying the other day, like during the time of the Buddha, there were people who would disrobe, and just out of this understanding that I can't do it. So by admitting that it's on me, they're still keeping this possibility that there is a more authentic path available alive, rather than saying, oh no, the Dharma is wrong, and then they no longer have that possibility available to them.
Means that even people who failed and disrobed, who failed the teaching, who failed to fulfill it, still actually develop some wisdom, because they still recognize, they were still able to at least understand what the practice was. So that's what they would say, no. It was us who was weak, and wasn't the teaching, and then they would still respect it and still be virtuous and still come keeping the 8 precepts and so on. Because they actually did develop the clarity, and they recognize, okay, no, I don't feel like going that far, and they accept the responsibility for it. They don't use it as an excuse. That's the difference. In other words, like if things were, to go wrong in their life, they would still feel the weight of their responsibility for not freeing themselves from that life in its entirety.
Yeah.
They wouldn't lie. They would be unable to lie to themselves about it. So the disrobed people of the Buddha's time were on average much wiser than people today that are even practicing the Dhamma, supposedly. Because again, honesty is that prerequisite for the Dhamma. And if you're unable to be dishonest with yourself, doesn't matter what threat of pain will, come as a result of it, you're okay, yeah, you are remaining on the basis where the Dhamma is practiced, even if you gave up that time. And yeah, there were cases that Chittahatta Sariputta, 6 times he disrobed, and then returned, and then disrobed, because he was authentic enough that although he failed, he recognized and then go back and after 6 times he became an arahant. So after 6th ordination, eventually. So he was doing the work throughout these comings and goings, and obviously he was a bit more impulsive, but fundamentally he wasn't covering up his actions. So when he disrobed, he felt the weight of it, he felt the guilt of it, he felt the burden of it, he felt the pointlessness of it, and then went back.
So
then failed again, but still never covered it up, which is why eventually he succeeded.
By not covering it up, you would
By not
inevitably
covering it up,
learn,
yeah.
you would just see, okay, I'm responsible for this suffering.
Yeah.
So every time that you're putting yourself in that liability, you will just learn more and more because you're not
by
covering
enduring
up.
the discomfort.
Yeah.
Because that's why people would cover it up, because it's unpleasant otherwise. I don't know if I said this when I told you that story of meditating more in evening, but it was similar. When I sort of discovered the suttas and started reading them more and more, it kind of clicked that, okay, if there's anything to be right in this world as far as his teachings in philosophy go, this seems like it. But then at the same time, it was also clear to me, okay, so I found what is right. That's it. So that part of me was satisfied. So it's my choice now to either follow it or just remain enjoying this conviction that this is right. But then immediately my mind itself considered, okay, so if I don't follow this, whatever happens to me for the remaining, years of my life, whether it's objectively my fault or not, it's going to be my fault internally, subjectively, because I've chosen clearly to not follow the way out. So I've chosen to stay in the environment where things can go one way or the other way. And that environment is the environment of samsara. And then I realized, okay, well, that's not the burden I can live with. So whatever, then you realize things are objectively, factually out of your hands. But now imagine you feel responsible for things being out of your hands. And so that's not a pleasant state to live in. So and that's exactly when the Buddha said, when a man discovers suffering correctly, there are only 2 possible outcomes of that pain. Either mental derangement or, no, I got to do something about this. Noble search. So if you think you manage it, you won't. You're going to be overrun and basically buried under stress and breakdowns and everything else. Or you can actually do something about it before all of that happens. Well, at least that's what became clear to me. So then it wasn't even an option anymore, so to speak, for me to whether to become a monk or not. It was just when. Because if anything's worth doing, it's trying to feel from the liability to suffering.
Which anything else you could possibly do,
it's going to be within that.
Yeah. So
and then, again, people are willing to accept that deal for as long as they don't recognize that it's still a matter of their choice. I might be fine in this house because I don't realize that the roof is on fire and it's about to collapse. However, if somehow I realize the roof is on fire, I can still choose to stay in the house and enjoy the company and everything else. But if that roof when that roof comes crashing, I can't blame anybody else. I can't even blame the one that started the fire. Because I had all the options to apply myself to find the escape. But I chosen not to. And that's what became clear to me. That the roof is on fire. So, I don't have to do this. But if I don't do it, I have absolutely no excuse. Even if virtuous, if I do everything right for the rest of my life, sickness, aging and death will have to come to you, to what's yours, things around you. And that will all be on me. Because I have not found a way out of the crashing, burning building. So, plain as the day. Not a pleasant thing, but at least it was clear. Yeah.
So, the Four Noble Truths, I see as noble, or like the highest or the ultimate, because that is because all intentions are contained within this desire to come out of suffering. So
Yeah.
So they are like, yeah, you cannot have an intention outside of
No.
of that intention to come out of suffering. So what you're saying is basically,
So you have no choice but to act out of it. So it's then, how do you go about it?
Yeah.
How do you act out of it?
yeah,
Do you act are you acting in a way that results by adding more fuel, or are you acting in a way that's actually, bring you closer to understand it and stop fueling it? And
which
bring
said
yourself
another way
up?
is, do I act out of craving, or do I act to understand the nature of craving? These are the two
Yeah.
paths.
Yeah. Initially, it's all rooted in craving, but craving can be abandoned by the means of craving.
Yeah.
Because of craving, now you're not acting out as much. You are actually restraining yourself. You're enduring more. All of that does not fuel craving as much. All of that brings it closer to understanding. Because obviously, the more you're able to withstand it, endure it, that impulse to act out of greed or anger and so on, well, the closer to it you become. And then you can see what needs to be seen. Certain aspects of it, certain characteristics will become visible then, because they're not immediately covered up, usually through like just giving into the desire, or giving into lashing out, or giving into distraction and indolence and oblivion.
Because the craving is allowed to endure, you're able to
Exactly. Yeah.
get to know it a bit. Like,
Endure it and
familiarize.
or simply see by enduring it, you actually are teaching yourself to recognize that, so it does not need to be acted upon immediately. Because that is not apparent to people. It's even that is not seen as a choice. Yeah, I don't know what to do, but at least I know that I don't have to do anything per se. This is unpleasant to endure, but that's one thing. Acting out will be then seen, but that's a separate thing. I used to think that's just one reaction, but the fact that I can endure it means, okay, so there's a possibility that it does not need to be acted out of.
And then you come to see that implies this, and now that is very risky, or that is very dangerous.
Yeah, then the whole
and then it's
parallels between and relationship will become even clearer, of course.